Welcome to the First Hebrew Primer, Chapter 16. Let's look at that vocabulary. In the upper right here, we have a preposition, achar. There's an alternate form, achare, and it means after or behind. Achar, achare. El is another preposition that means to or for. El. Then there is et. This is what's called the definite direct object marker, the DDO marker, et. And then we have the bound preposition b. You can tell there's already some words here that you are familiar with. The preposition bein or between. And then there's it's kind of a combined word. Betoch is the word toch from the last chapter, middle or midst, with the preposition beit. And betoch together means in the midst of or within. This vocabulary word up here, kamo, means like or as. It's basically the preposition kaf. The lamed bound preposition le. The preposition lifnei, before or in front of. Min, which you already know, is from. Al, upon, on, about. Here's toch in the middle of, you can see it next to betoch, and then tachat, under or instead of. So nice to have some review for vocabulary. Okay, so we're going to talk now about direct object pronouns. The last chapter we talked about possessive pronouns. Now we're going to talk about direct object pronouns. So direct object pronouns are used to replace the noun of a direct object of a verb, right? So you could say the sentence, Jacob sent the young man to Moab. Or you could say Jacob sent him to Moab, especially in the context if it's clear who he's sending. You could say him. So that's an object pronoun, him. In English, the object pronouns are me, you, him, her, it, us, or them. And in Hebrew, the direct object pronouns, you already learned in the last chapter, it's the lamed poem. Those endings are the endings for the direct object pronouns. So there's really one set of endings to learn for both the possessive pronouns and the object pronouns. Now, what I wanted to show you in this slide is the object pronoun, that you've already learned from the last chapter. Here it is attached to the definite direct object marker. Remember that this word signals that the next word is the definite direct object of a verb. And that et, you can actually put a pronoun suffix on it. And it's the word et, and when you put a pronoun suffix on it, the vowel changes to a holum. So it's the first vowel. So it's oto is him or it, ota is her, otecha is you, and so on. Now, you remember et is also the preposition with. They look identical, and we have to look at context normally to see when they're distinguished. However, when there is a pronoun suffix, you can actually distinguish between these two words. The definite direct object marker has a holum vowel when there's a pronoun suffix. The preposition et changes to a hierarch, so it's ito when it's has a pronoun suffix. So this is with him, with her. So just pointing out, you can really highlight the difference between those two when they have a pronoun suffix. Okay, let's take a look at object pronouns in sentences here. So this is the first sentence, Hu zakar et ha'av, he remembered the father. Or you could say, if you wanted to use a pronoun instead of father and just say him, you could say he remembered oto, that's him. That's the definite direct object marker plus the pronoun him. Or zakarti et imi, I remembered my mother. Or you could say, I remembered zakarti ota, I remembered her. And there's that third feminine singular pronoun suffix. Or you could say, zakarta et habanim, you remembered the sons, the children. Or zakarta otam, you remembered them. There's that them ending. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of a different language than your textbook uses. The pronoun suffixes attached to the lamed poem, the normal ones I call type 1 suffixes. These are the normal pronoun suffix endings for objects or possessives. The lo, la, laka, lakli, lahim, lahin, laken, laken, lanu. There is another set of pronoun suffixes, of possessive and objective suffixes, called type 2. And these are very similar to type 1. Here it is on the preposition al. And the preposition al always takes a type 2 pronoun suffix. The main difference is this intervening yod, the yod between the word, here al, and the pronoun. Alaiv, aleha, ale, alecha. You can see how it's very similar to type 1, but just a subtle shift. And then you get that intervening yod. And because of that extra yod, it's actually a vowel letter yod. Because of that, you can't have two vowels in a row, and that's why instead of kamete, it's hey kamets. It switches the order of the consonant and the vowel in some cases, but otherwise it's the same. And so you need to know both of these, type 1 and type 2 suffixes. That will become more important even later on. I would encourage you to memorize, and hopefully you already have memorized, the Lamed poem, Down Cold. And if you know that down cold, you should be able to figure out the type 2 suffixes because they are so similar. Like, oh yeah, that's a type 2. Oh, that must be, you know, it's alehem instead of lahem. Hem, it's ahem. That must be them, the type 2 suffix. So you can figure it out from the type 1 suffixes. Okay, there are pronoun suffixes do get a little bit irregular when attached to a couple of different prepositions. So with the preposition kaf, when you add a pronoun suffix, in many of the forms, and here they're highlighted in red, you get an extra syllable that's included, and it's the mo syllable that's included between the preposition and the pronoun suffix. Why is it that way? I don't know. This is the way the language works. But you just need to know when you translate it, you just translate it like it's the preposition kaf. So kamohu, this hu is an alternate form of the third masculine singular suffix hu. It looks a lot like the independent pronoun hu. This is just translated like him. Or kamoha is simply like her. You don't translate it any differently than a kaf preposition plus the pronoun. Similarly with min, you have not only the mame of the preposition min, but the noon will assimilate in all forms. So the noon assimilates or drops off. When I say assimilates, what I mean is it balls up and hides itself as a dot in the next consonant. And this also has an extra mame syllable in many of the forms. So it creates these alternate spellings, but you want to translate it simply like the preposition min plus a pronoun. Now, this is also helpful because there's another alternate third masculine singular ending, enu. So the normal third masculine singular ending is a holenvav. There's the hu is an alternate form, and then enu is another alternate form. And that's it. It's just those three forms. So mimenu means from him or it. Mimena, from her or it. Mimecha, from you. Mimech, from you. Mimeni, from me. So, and you can see as you go through it. Now, the first common plural form, from us, actually looks the same as the third masculine singular form. So context is going to have to be helpful there. Okay, the other main thing in this lesson is the verb have in Hebrew. To have. Hebrew doesn't have an equivalent of the verb have in English. And so it communicates that idea in a different way. It communicates it using the preposition lamed, the inseparable preposition lamed. So here's some examples. And there's really two different ways that the preposition lamed expresses the idea have in a Hebrew sentence. So here's one. It may be attached to the noun or pronoun that is the possessor. So the thing that has, the person that has something, you use the word lamed attached to it. So here's an example, LaAvraham banim. Very literally, this is to Abraham were, like a noun phrase, were sons. Or you could simply translate this more naturally in English, Abraham has sons. So that lamed is really is communicating the function of the verb to have in English. So it's be Abraham has sons. Or Another alternative approach is you can, the lamed preposition may be attached to the noun that is the possessor and used with the word yesh, there is. So yesh la'Avraham banim. There are, very literally, there are 2 Abraham sons, or there are 4 Abraham sons. Or you could translate this whole phrase simply as Abraham has sons. What if you want to say Abraham doesn't have something, or someone doesn't have something? Well, the inseparable preposition is used with the word ein, that negative particle of existence we've talked about, to express the lack of possession, to not have, in a Hebrew noun sentence. So here's an example of that. Ein la'Avraham banim. There are not 2 Abraham sons. Or you could simply say, Abraham has no sons. Or use just with a pronoun, ein lanu bain. This is, there is not to us or for us a son. Or you could just simply say, we have no son. All right. The other way you can communicate the idea have is with the verb haya. So the preposition lamed is used with the form of the verb haya to express possession in the perfect and the imperfect. The form of the verb must match whatever is possessed. So here's an example. Ha'u la'Avraham vanim. Very literally, this is, there were 2 Abraham sons. Or you could simply translate this, Abraham had sons, as if the verb means had, taking Abraham as the subject. Abraham had sons. Or, ha'u lo banim, this is, there were to him sons, or you could simply say, he had sons. This construction is negated, or can be negated, with a lo. So, lo haya lanu bain. There was not to him a son. Or you could simply translate that, we did not have a son. And that's it for this lesson.